but 3/4 of us
Carmen's
are.
here in spirit.
Yeah.
She's in here in spirit.
That's right. So tonight we have Philip and Banks.
Which is the what they
Yeah.
usually. I'm just kidding.
That's true. That a
That's
lot
how
of
we get
times they
introduced
have
in.
introduced us like that anyway. We want y'all to make welcome Philip and Banks.
Phillips and Dean.
Yeah.
Phillips and
Brooks
Dunn.
and Dunn.
I love it, man.
We've heard it all.
Yeah, my favorite was Travis and Banks. I don't
Travis.
know what we didn't
Don't know
even
where
say
that came
Travis
from, but
the whole night, but hey, it didn't matter. We had great service. so.
Remember when he said Phyllis and Banks?
Phyllis and Banks.
Yeah, that's my all-time favorite. Phyllis and Banks.
Oh, Phyllis and Banks. Well, welcome into a brand new episode of
PnB Unplugged.
Oh yeah, that golden
Sounds
voice over there.
Sultry
Gosh.
almost.
Sultry.
I wish I had the Rodney Balcom going on, but I'm
You're-
not there yet.
You're
man.
getting
I'm
there,
not
bro.
there.
You're getting there. I am convinced that you could be a radio personality.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe like the
Think
the
about
news
how much
guy or the weather. Can I talk about the weather?
Think about like how rich of a baritone voice you have.
I thought you were going to
Plus,
say, think about how much you love to talk.
that's what I was going to say. Number 2, think about how
That
much
is
you love
I
to
can't
talk.
even deny that. That's
Yeah.
so true.
You do love to talk. So Caleb would be great. Just put him in a room all by himself with a soundboard all day. He could just talk.
This just in. Over to you, Caleb.
Okay, ladies.
The weather
ladies,
today.
Ladies, what are we doing today?
Oh, I'm so sorry. We have a very, very special episode planned tonight.
Yes.
And we have a very, very special guest. Tonight we have probably the most popular soloist in all of Southern gospel music.
Absolutely.
Not you, Autumn.
I sing solo on nothing.
We do have a very special friend, and when I say friend, I mean that.
Yes.
This guy has been. We've been friends since we started Phillips and Banks, and I don't know if he knows this, but I want to mention it to him when we bring him on. That we actually saw the very first service that he ever sang solo at Higher Ground Baptist
Was
Church
that
in
the first one?
Kingsport. I
He'll probably be
think
like,
so.
"No, idiot."
He'll probably correct us, but I thought that was at least one of the very first ones. And that was like in 2014.
Yeah, 13 and 14.
Yeah, something like that. So this guy has an incredible solo career. He's performed everywhere. He's Dove Award winning, Grammy nominated.
Ridiculous songwriter.
Exactly.
Absolutely incredible.
Wonderful songwriter. And so without further ado, we'd like to bring on our friend who we're going to talk to a little bit about his story of addiction and how that kind of goes right along with our ministry and what we kind of preach and all that sort of thing from the stage every weekend. We just have Caleb and Joseph Habedank have very similar stories. So, Joseph, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. It was really hard to bite my tongue while you were giving incorrect information
Incorrect
on the air. No, I'm teasing.
Aw, man.
That's awesome.
What was
I'm
that?
teasing. No, it wasn't my first concert, but
Okay.
you're right about one thing. It was the first time I ever shared my story in front of a crowd.
Okay. I
So
got
that
you.
was a pretty special day. And I think I only had there's only 2 dates, but it was like my third date ever,
Mm.
which was crazy. That's been 12 years ago.
Yeah, man.
12 years ago this in December. It's just insane.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
And
And also, it was hard to bite my tongue when you all were talking about how people had called you by the wrong name. And I'm thinking, guys, I'm not trying to one-up you over here, but
Oh,
when you
yeah.
when you got Habedank, it's tough. It's tough.
I would think
It
that
is
I don't know if it would be this way in the Southern gospel world, but I would think the most common mispronunciation of Habedank would be Hoobastank, because that was like a rock band back when I was in high school.
That was a rock band. Believe it or not, the number one is they put an R in it, so they say Haber. I
Haberdank.
can't even say it. I hate it. I hate it. I'm like, there's no R. There's never been an R. There never will be an R. Don't put an R in there.
Oh, that's
What is
so
wrong with
funny.
you?
I remember
Joseph Habedank. Joseph Habedank is on the PnB Unplugged
That's
podcast.
also not even a hard name to say.
It's not. And you say it kind of just like the way it's spelled.
It's literally
Habedank.
phonetic. Yeah.
It is. I mean, so I don't get it. Anyway, I also don't want to understand
Thank you,
why
Autumn.
people can't say
Anytime.
Phillips, but that.
Philip and Bank.
I remember one of the first times, Joseph, I know you remember this. One of the first times we ever got to sing together or let me rephrase it. The one time we got to open for you, and but we were standing in the middle of a theater. We'd never met you before, and you just came in so just, I mean, easy going, easy to talk to. You came in and just, I don't know, man. It's just like you talked to us like you knew us forever, and I thought that was so cool. But then I remember you checking your voicemail, and that's when you were up for a dove for the song "If I Could Sing It Then," or is it "Sing It Now"?
What?
No, that was actually a
The
Grammy.
Grammys.
Grammy,
It was
Yeah.
a
not Dove.
Grammy. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was for my I'm actually looking at it right now. It's so
Oh.
weird you're talking about this. In my garage, there's a picture of Resurrection. It says 2017 Grammy nominee for Best Roots Gospel Album. However, you're kind of correct. It was up against Reba's
Yeah.
That's
album, Sing It
well.
Now,
I remember
which
you
I wrote.
sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had called you or left you a voicemail and said, "Excuse us," or no, that's what it was. It was an email, and they said, "Could you call this number or just send us a voice recording of how to pronounce your last
Mhm.
name?"
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were
Yes.
like, I said, "Tell him it's Hoobastank," and you're like, "Yeah, whatever." But I remember you going Habedank, Habedank.
Abba, dang.
Well,
I don't know why they needed to know how to pronounce it. I didn't win.
It didn't matter anyway.
Well, it was I'm sure it was an honor just to
Oh,
be
shit.
on there, man. I mean, you're such
Yeah,
an
it was.
accomplished singer and such an accomplished songwriter, and we respect you to the guilds, and we love you so very much. I've always, and I'm sure Caleb feels the same way, and Autumn too. We've just always felt a special connection to your ministry because number one, you are ministry minded. I mean, with all the success that you've had and all the thousands of concerts probably that you've sung now as a soloist and, before when you were with the Perrys and, you still have just stayed true to the gospel and you always share your story and you share the gospel at your concerts. And that was a big inspiration, I feel like, for us starting out because, you never know when you get into this, are you supposed to do this, that, or the other thing? And so when we saw that modeled, I guess, sharing the gospel and really telling your story about what God has brought you from, it really, really inspired us to do the same thing. So from the bottom of our
Well,
hearts, we thank you for all that you have done. So
no, I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you guys. I've always, there's just certain people that you meet and you just love and you just there's some people you don't connect with and that's okay, but
mhm.
there's other people that you connect with. And I remember the first time we were ever, Lindsay and I always go to the car, or we used to before we had the bus, and we talk about the night and what happened. It kind of debriefs, what we would call it. And a lot of times we would say, boy, that local group was funny, or boy, that local group, they sure did whatever. And we didn't call you all local group, by the way, but I said, man, first thing I said was, I love their spirit.
Mhm.
And she said, and I'll never forget, she said, they are so kind and so sweet.
Aw.
And that's, and let me just tell you, man, the kindness, and I've not always extended it in my life, but kindness and goodness and sweetness, even it goes such a long way. And the Maya Angelou quote, which is my favorite, is people will forget your name, they'll forget where you're from, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Mm.
And man, that's so powerful to me.
yeah.
And so yeah, thank you for saying that. But just know that it is very much mutual, and I would do anything in the world for you all. I believe in you and who you are, and your love your spirit, and just you all you're pretty much family at this point, I guess, if that's okay.
Well, we feel the same way about you. Caleb, by the way, is wearing your Holy Ghost.
Whoop, whoop.
There
Tell
ain't
the
room
devil
for
shirt.
two in this Holy Ghost town shirt right now. So I know you can't see him, but he is repping "Tell the Devil" right now. So
I
Is
love
he
that song,
Pentecostal?
man.
is he Pentecostal?
Yeah.
I'm
he's
just-
Yeah.
he's a
Jacob
mud.
says I'm a mud. He said, "You don't know what you are." I said, "No, I'm just saved, brother."
That's what I say. That's what Lindsay says too. When they try to put a denomination on us, I'm like, we're just Christians.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just
I like the mutt. The mutt line is good though. That's great.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so funny about our group. It has a lot of variety as far as denominations go. Now, none of us really subscribe to much of any specific denomination now because we all go to a non-denominational church in Kingsport, Tennessee. But I grew up Pentecostal, and Carmen, my wife, grew up Presbyterian. And Autumn grew up Southern Baptist, and I always say Caleb's a mud. He doesn't know what he is. So,
Covering all our bases.
So that's what's wrong with Autumn.
Exactly. Yes, I was gonna say that.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy. The other night, so I've got my band they're all Pentecostals except for me. I was raised Baptist. Now, so I get up there the other night and we're at this First Baptist church and they're very sweet, but they're so dead. I mean, they're deader than a bag of hammers. I mean, just dead. And finally on the last song, I said, guys, I promise this just happened. I said, guys, I was raised Baptist and I've got 3 Pentecostal boys back here and we're about to do Here He Comes. And I need you all to do something just to show them that all Baptists are not dead. And I'm telling you, they stood to their feet and they got with it. I mean, so it was like, yeah, all you had to do is make fun of them, shame them a little bit, and they'll go with it.
It works.
Oh, that's so awesome. That is so awesome.
Well, that is still one song that absolutely, I mean, and that's one song, I don't care where you're at in that building. As soon as you kick off, you hear that guitar riff take off on that acoustic, and man, that place comes unglued. And I've heard it so many times, I still get it. I'm like, yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think people connect with this, and so this is a perfect opportunity. I told them I was very excited about sharing this. There is a song that you gave to us. What year did we do this? Is your
2020.
2020. And I'm not trying to just fast forward or anything, Joseph, but you told me a story about the song "Heaven in Your Heart." Now, "Heaven in Your Heart" did pretty good for us on radio stuff, but there are a lot of people who, man, I mean, we hear a lot about that song.
It did better.
We go.
It did much better it does much better for us live than it did on the radio. And honestly, it's probably our second or third most streamed song on like Spotify and Apple Music, all those things. And almost everywhere we go, if we've been there before, somebody's asking for that song. Yeah. And I really don't know whether I think it's a combination of the songwriting, and Caleb just really sings it really well too. But so anyway.
But the message in that song, I mean, there are people, I had a man tell me at one service, and that's when that was probably within the first year of us releasing that song or starting to use it live. He came to a concert, he'd never seen us before, and he said, "Caleb, I want to share something with you." And he was kind of not uptight, but just a very business guy, not a whole lot of goofing around. He said, "You all did a great job tonight." He said, "But that song about heaven," I said, "Heaven in your heart." He said, "Yeah." He said, my mom passed away 2 years ago." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "I'm sorry about that." He said, No. He said, "I was over all of her estate. I was the power of attorney. I had to take care of all that. My brothers and sisters were falling apart. I had to do all these things, and I had to just take care of all of it." He said, so I never took time to grieve. I had to just kind of power through. And I said, I get it, man. That's kind of how I am with my mom. I do those things for her. And so he said, tonight, while you guys were singing that song, he said, was the first time, he said, I've shed actual tears, and I got to kind of grieve and remember that there's a promise. My mom is in heaven. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. And but you had shared a story about writing that song. If you wouldn't mind to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I got out of rehab, I went to a writer's retreat. I was probably 6 months sober. Well, maybe not even that. I was just a few months sober, and I got invited to a writer's retreat. And I was paired on that writer's retreat with a guy named, oh man, who did I even write that with? It was 2 people. I'd have to go look. Man, that's horrible. I can't remember that. I might have to go look at that. Anyway, my mom had been a single mom for many years, and her best friend passed away, and very unexpectedly. And my mom basically started, her husband, and they were very close to our family, and so they, are obviously already friends, and my mom and her husband actually um, got married.
Oh wow.
I don't know, few months after he died. And what's crazy is Sheila, we call her Aunt Sheila. She would actually say, she actually told George, my stepdad, she said, if something were to happen to me, you need to marry Leah. She's been single for so long. And he said, don't, it was
Yeah.
like, it was weird. It was like, but anyway, they got married. And so, is this pretty much the story I told you, or some of it,
Yeah. This
or
is.
no?
I didn't hear all these. We just got to talk briefly about it. And you said that you had written this after rehab. The rest of it, I've never heard any of this. That's awesome.
Yeah, I wrote it after rehab. I was at a writer's retreat, and she had just passed away, Aunt Sheila, and so I basically wrote it kind of in her memory, and I got to send it to her son, who's now my stepbrother, and yeah, so it is crazy. And then my mom ended up marrying the guy who's honestly one of the greatest men that I know. My stepdad, he's a preacher, and he's just a wonderful human being and
It's
wonderful
incredible,
man.
man.
So yeah, yeah,
Now
it's
you've
a pretty
written
short, special song.
you've written a lot of great songs, and if I had to pick my favorite Joseph song, that would be really really tough for me. Um, but I have a couple in mind. I don't want to. I don't know if we maybe get to the. Maybe we'll do a little segment of that at the very end. What's our favorite Joseph song? But at right now, you mentioned being in rehab, and I think when I first heard you in 2014 or whatever, and it was the first time that you had ever shared your story of addiction. Now, if you're a fan of Southern gospel music out there, you're watching this video, then you may already know that Joseph had an addiction to pain medication at one time. And it was while he was on the road singing and ministering. And I'm not trying to tell his story. I'm just kind of setting this up because when he mentioned he wrote Heaven in Your Heart, which is one of our songs that we sing on the road after he got out of rehab, that's really why we wanted to have you on. One of the biggest reasons why we wanted to have you on the podcast is because when we heard you in 2014, even though it was one of your very first concerts, it just struck me, your story, and we hadn't even
We weren't
Philip,
even
no,
didn't exist.
we didn't exist until
Were you
2017.
there? Were you even there for that concert?
No, I didn't get to come. Not for that one.
So like we didn't even start singing together till 2017, but that has stuck with me all these years, and it's so cool how your story and Caleb's parallel. So if you don't mind, maybe the best way to do this is could you just tell those listeners your story in your own words, and you can share whatever you want to share, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, so I was raised in church. I was a church kid. I had a brother that was it struggled with addiction growing up. So I had a really odd relationship with addiction. Frankly, I hated addiction. I didn't understand it. I resented my brother. I was very prideful in the regards to thinking, how in the world could he do this? I don't understand it. So, my brother's life starts to unravel. On the flip side, my dreams started coming true at a pretty early age, and the Perrys hired me when I was 17 years old, which is insanity. But I went on the road, and about 5 years into that, my mom called one night and said that she was worried about my brother and that she just dropped him off in Xenia, Ohio, our hometown and downtown. He didn't want to be at home anymore. He wanted to go live on the streets, and so she took him, and she called me, of course, distraught. And I had prayed for my brother, thousands of times, but that particular night, she asked me to pray for him. I got down on my knees and prayed that God would take his addiction away and give it to me because I could handle it better
Mm.
than he could, which was probably the dumbest, most arrogant prayer I've ever prayed in my life. And I don't know why I said it. I think I was trying to be a hero, or I don't know. I didn't. And here's the thing: I don't think God gives people addictions, but I do believe that God allows things to happen. Number one, to draw us closer to Him, but I also
Yeah.
believe that the enemy heard that prayer,
Mm.
and he said, okay, watch this. So a few days later, it was probably, well, it might have been a few months later. I had woke up, had a sore throat, not a big deal, but come to find out there was an ulcer in the back of my throat, and that ulcer grew about the size of a quarter. It was huge. It was on the. It was just. I don't want to get into much detail, but it's very gross. It was just awful, and the pain was excruciating. So I went on the road, and there was a lady who saw that I was in pain, and she very innocently offered me pain medicine, which I knew nothing about. I knew what Tylenol and Advil was, but I didn't really know what painkillers were.
Mm.
My brother was an illicit drug user, meaning he would use heroin or cocaine or meth or crack, but he didn't use prescription drugs. So I didn't know much about that. So I took the medicine, and instantly, within 30 minutes of me taking that medicine, it was like the best feeling I'd ever felt in my life. I never wanted to not feel that again. I think the first time I took it, I was hooked that quick.
Mm.
That's the reality of it. So obviously I ran out of the medicine. They gave me enough to get through the weekend. I ran out of that. And then little by little, I would start finding ways to get this medicine, whether it was going to doctors or asking people for pain medicine or even stealing them from people's homes, and just things that honestly, I've never been a thief in my life. But addiction does crazy things. It makes you do things that you never thought you would do. And so my life kind of just started to unravel, and met my wife in the middle of all this. 2008 is when I actually started dating her, and that's the year I was introduced to prescription drugs.
Wow.
Um, and so she walked that journey with me. She found out the first time that I was struggling in 2010, 3 weeks before we got married, and married me anyway, which is insanity. Again, the people in my life that have taken a chance on me, it's pretty remarkable. And so we got married, and I at that time I was trying to do it on my own, trying to stay clean, and I lasted a few months and then went right back to it. And then of course, anytime you relapse in your addiction, it gets worse. It doesn't get better.
Mm.
So whenever you relapse, you start taking more than you were the time before, and that happens a lot of the time. So that was 2010. By 2013, I was exposed for my addiction to my to the group that I was singing with, and it was brought to their attention that I was using drugs, and they knew that I had struggled in the past, but they've given me a lot of chances, and I just couldn't. I needed to come off the road and get help. That was the reality, and I wasn't willing to do that. So they came to the house, kind of gave me a. They said, we can't have you on the road, obviously, if you're using drugs. So what would you like to do? And I said, well, I'd like to resign if you let me. And they said, okay. So I resigned, and on May, I forget, it was May 2013, and so little by little, I started. I had enough. I remember I had enough pills that week to get me through the week, and then I started detoxing on Saturday, just May 25th, which is my sobriety date, and I was sick for days, just so sick, just we call it dope sick. It's horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and went through that, and then checked into a rehab facility, and lived there for 30 days. Got out, did 5 weeks of outpatient at the same rehab, but this particular program, the second program I was in, I could go home. So I would just basically go to 4 or 5 hour classes every night. And then I did 90 meetings in 90 days, which birthed the song "The Basement." Was because of those meetings that are taking place in the basements of churches. I didn't write it till 10 years after uh, that, but yeah. And then God started really working a miracle in my life. This guy from Cincinnati, Ohio, called me, and a guy I grew up with. He was planting an inner city church in Cincinnati, and he said, "Hey, would you come sing as our first service at our church?" And I said, "Man, I just got out of rehab." And he said, "I don't care." He said, "Come on." So I came, and again, another guy took a chance on me, and so went and sang and for him a couple times. And then Phil Hoskins called me about going to Higher Ground, and he said, "Hey, I want you to come sing." See, I hadn't shared my story at the first 2 times I sang. And I said, "Okay, I'll come." And he said, "But here's my only stipulation." He said, "You got to give your testimony." And I
Mm.
said, "Phil, I've been clean 6 months. These people are not going to want to hear my I mean, this is fresh, And he said, just do it. It's how Phil is.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
we do.
did. I I gave my testimony that morning, and I remember they had an altar call, and people started coming to the altar and
Mm.
weeping for their loved ones, and I remember God saying, "That's what I want you to do." And it
Wow.
was bigger than singing at that point. It was about sharing my story and using my songs as a vehicle to share my story. And so that's what I do every single night. Doesn't matter where I'm at. Um, it's funny, the devil had convinced me that I would never sing again because of my addiction. And the very thing that the devil meant to destroy me, that's the reason people book me now, is
Yeah.
because of my recovery from addiction. And only God can do that, right? He takes the brokenness, makes it beautiful. And so, yeah, today I've been clean and sober 4,400 and hold on, I got to tell you, it's on my 4,491 days today.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, good time. It's been
I,
amazing.
I
I got,
I
got a record
always love
deal,
to
all the good stuff.
I always love to hear you in concert share how many days you've been sober, because every time you say that number, I'm like, yeah, go, that's awesome. It just gets me pumped up. And but I
And
think I think that is the most beautiful story, because if it hadn't been for addiction, um, if it hadn't been for that struggle in your life. Now, don't get me wrong, I hate you had to go through all those things, but would would you have the ministry that you have today? Would you just be um, not that I'm not trying to downgrade this, but would you just be out on the road singing lead, and that's all there is to it, and you're just a singer? Whereas now,
You're a minister.
right, I really feel like you are a minister, and so I almost not I hate again I hate that you had to go through all that, but I do thank God for those things in your life, because He has used them for His glory, and He's using them to bring countless people to the Lord, and He's using it to set the captive free, and to encourage those that have prayed for their loved ones. That's one thing that Caleb shares, and I want him to share a little bit too. He shares about how much his parents prayed for him, and his uncles and his aunts and people in his life prayed for him. And that's one thing that we try to do, is encourage grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads that are ready to throw in the towel and give up on their family members, never to stop praying. And Caleb always says, look, I'm living proof that prayer works. So, keep praying for your family
Yeah.
members.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it's as important as it is to help reach the addict and the alcoholic. It is equally important to encourage the family of the addict and the alcoholic, because those are the people that are in the trenches trying to figure out how to deal with this
Mm.
and taking the blame, which they've not done anything to be the reason for it. But yeah, I agree with that, and I'm looking forward to hearing Caleb's story, because I haven't heard a lot of it. So, Caleb, it's your turn.
Well, I've never really thought about it like what Jacob was saying. We are somewhat similar in that my family grew up, or I grew up, I should say. My family traveled and sang gospel music my whole life. My dad, everything. I knew what I wanted to do until I was, you know, probably 17 years old. 15, I was normal teenager doing dumb stuff, but 17 years old is when I had a cousin of mine it started out something really innocent like that. We worked together, and I dropped out of high school thinking I knew better. And I remember being on this job site one night, and he said, "Let me give you a little something that'll help you." I was hurting. We'd been working for days. I worked construction at the time. And he said, "Let me give you a little something to, it'll help you with that pain." And I was like, "Okay." So he crushed something up, and of course, I was like, "Why are you crushing this up?" He said, "Well, if you snort it up your nose, it gets into your bloodstream faster." And explained the whole thing to me. And so I'm thinking, Oh, okay.
He knows what he's talking about. It
Yeah.
seems like.
I mean, I trusted him. You know what I mean? And honestly, to this day, I still and I've had this conversation. Of course, he's gone on to be with the Lord, but I've told him many times because he used to say, "I wish I'd never done that stuff in front of you." I said, your intention was not what happened to me." You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
anyways, I kind of got, like you said, I liked that feeling, and I didn't know, I didn't get diagnosed till later on that I have ADHD. So in my brain, any of those things, the codeines or codones or any of those, kind of sped me up and made me feel invincible. So it was,
Same.
yeah.
Yeah. Same.
And so from there, it just kind of grew into like, I didn't think nothing about it at first. I just kind of assumed, well, I got a handle on it. Like you said, you just think you got it. And if you don't have it that week, it's fine. But then you start finding yourself like finding ways to buy it. You start skipping meals, and then you start mixing alcohol with it. And that was the other thing I started to really, really like was I could get away from the pain medicine for a little while, but then I'd turn to alcohol pretty heavy. And I didn't know and why I started that. To this day, I've always tried to figure out like what made me start doing that. Other than, I mean, I'd go hang out at these parties, but I always avoided it, and I've never figured out what really started it, except for I feel like I was trying to fill a void. Like you really think you've got it all together. Because again, 17 years old, all this stuff's happened. 18, 19. For years I was still traveling and singing, just doing. I mean, not thinking a thing about it. And it clicked one day. I was like, somebody had preached about conviction, and I was like, I don't feel convicted about any of this stuff. And so I knew something was wrong. And at that time, I finally told my dad, I said, Dad, I can't do this anymore. What I'm doing, the things I'm doing, and the people that I'm hanging out with, and relationships, and all this stuff. I said, it's just, I don't need to be up there singing. And he kept trying to encourage me, son, this is what God wants you to do. And I kept saying, no, that's not for me, not for me. And so fast forward, I was 22 years old, and I remember I was working out of town, so I pretty well had everything hid from everybody. Well, I thought I did anyways. I later found out all of my family knew what was going on, and they were praying for me. And but I woke up early. I was home. I woke up early on a Sunday morning. I never woke up early on Sunday morning, and for whatever reason, to this day, I say this, and I mean it. I got up and I thought, I'm going to go to church. Why? I don't know. I hadn't been, and I couldn't tell you how long. So I got up. I went to the only church I knew. It was a church I grew up in, and sitting on the second or third row back from the front, because I tell people jokingly, I didn't know that, if you're backslid and you're sitting in the back. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just went and sat right up front. So here I was sitting up there, and I mean, hugging everybody, walking in, shaking hands. Hey, Brother Kev. They'd known me since I was a baby. And I remember sitting down, and I remember, I think the pastor was giving announcements. He wasn't preaching yet, because I knew when he preached. He was one of them shouting, hopping around. I loved it. But for the first time in my life, I'd ever felt conviction, and it scared me. I'd never felt the presence of the Lord. Thought I got saved when I was a little kid, so I thought I was good. You prayed the prayer, you're good. And for the first time in my life, I felt, I'll never forget that feeling of feeling conviction for the first time in my life. And I got up, and I was walking out the door because it scared me. I was getting up to leave, and when I got to the end of the pew, my body involuntarily, I say, turned left, headed to the altar. And I kept saying, Lord, I can't fight these battles. I can't, you know what I've got planned to do when I leave here today, and you know what I got to do to function, and what I thought I needed to do to function. And I'm not saying God spoke audibly to me. If people heard me say this all the time, if He did, I'd have probably had a heart attack. But He spoke to my heart. You know, no, you can't fight these things, but I can. And so I remember making it a couple steps from the altar. I looked over. Lindsay probably knows this church. It's called Way of Life. It's right up here in Bloomingdale. Because Lindsay and I went to school together, and I forget about that sometimes. But I got a couple steps from the altar, and I remember the pastor looking over at me, and I just said, I need help. And that was it. I hit the altar, and I said, Lord, I need you to save me. I need you to fix this. And He did. He broke those addictions. He broke the alcoholism and all the other things I was trying to fill this void. And there's a picture in my brain I've never forgot ever. When I got up from that prayer and I turned around, my entire church was up there praying around me. And so that's where the Lord started it. Later on, my family, I found out they all knew what was going on, because it's kind of hard to hide when you're losing weight, not eating, and just, you know what I'm talking about. You start to act differently. And so, but they all stuck it out, man. They prayed for me. And then, like you said, that's so crazy the way you put that. As I told Jacob and Autumn and Carmen, they all know this. I really thought that I was done with ministry. Like I didn't know any better. I thought, well, this is it. I've ruined my name. And nobody's going to want me to come and be a part of, anything to do with ministry. And then little by little, people would start inviting me to help with a youth group or a Bible camp. And we met at the theater, and then here we are now doing what we're doing. And I told them the other day, I said, I never imagined ever in my life that 15 years ago, God was going to do something like this with a messed up drug addict that He had to come in and fix,
Wow, that's amazing. I tell you too, what I love about your story is that there's several ways to get clean and sober. And mine, I was a church kid, and it sounds like you were too. But mine, I felt like I had to put work in to get it to do. And but there's some people that literally get instantaneously delivered, and it sounds like that's what you experienced. That was not my experience. But the point is this: God delivers people in more than one way.
Yeah, He does.
You know what I mean? Like, He can deliver us in any capacity that He chooses. And so I love that. I really love how different and yet, the same our stories are.
Well, I heard a message, Joseph. It's funny you say that. I heard a message from a guy talking about that exact subject one day, because I always wondered. I thought, I've got friends of mine at our home church. We've got to be a part of the Celebrate Recovery service, and I've got to share and stuff there. And you'll hear, I love being there for badge ceremonies. There's nothing like seeing these people who are just, to them, Autumn and I think I cry more when it's like they've been sober a month. A month feels like such a lifetime when you're fighting it tooth and nail to get through it, man.
Even a week,
Yeah. And so but that's something, I heard a message on that one day about how Jesus healed. There are two blind men in Scripture. Now, blind Bartimaeus, Jesus healed him differently than He healed the other man that He spat in the dirt and rubbed mud in his eyes. And I was like, I never really thought about that. He's like,
same affliction.
Yeah, same affliction, but a different journey of how you got to that healing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow,
right.
Man. So yes, that's very, it is but it's all about, like you said, the story, because you're going to reach somebody who, they're walking through it right now saying, man, I've had to go through rehab. I've tried to do this on my own, and they're going to come, you know what I mean? Like the Lord's going to line that up for them to be like, let me talk to you. Let me show you this guy named Joseph Habedank. You know what I mean? And I just think that's so incredible, man.
I think one of the greatest things about all of this is that, when I was a kid, I have a totally different story than both of you. But when I was a kid, we just never really I mean, we didn't talk about drugs all that much. I didn't even really know what drugs were. I, I didn't like, I was just, I guess, sheltered. I'm not really sure, but like, I just didn't know about all those things. And I'm thankful for that. But I think what I'm saying is, um, like, it, it must be really hard and also freeing to stand up on the stage every night and talk about those things in front of people that are church people and they have been in church their whole lives, and they may, it may shock some people. And I think the drug problem in America has gotten to such a place these days where most everybody knows, that people are doing drugs. But, at the same time, it can shock some people, but I think it also brings awareness to what people are going through and what people are experiencing, what real people are experiencing. So it's almost like it brings that church mask and that church face. And I hate to say it that way, but that's what it is, where we try to act like everything's just fine and everything's okay. Let me tell you something. There are all kinds of people in churches. There are people standing on stages every week. And Joseph, you're testament to that. Caleb was testament to that. I have been testament to that before in my life, having sin in my life. I knew there were things going on in my heart that didn't need to be there. And I was standing on stages every week. And so what I guess I'm getting at is I love how when God redeems something, what the devil meant to destroy you, God has redeemed it and he's using it for his purposes. And not only has it helped you, but it's helping all kinds of other people that have put this mask and this facade on, acting like everything's okay. And now they get to see, okay, if God can do that for Joseph, then maybe he can do that for me. Or maybe he can do that for my family members. And I know that was a really long way to say that, but
share your heart, Pastor. I'm kidding.
It's just incredible to me. So I respect you both so much for sharing that night after night after night. And is it painful for you ever to share that, or is it freeing for you?
No, I think it's therapeutic. I think the verse in the Bible that says we overcame him, meaning the enemy,
Mm-hmm.
by the blood, which has already been applied.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do anything about that. That's his job, right?
Mm-hmm.
To apply the blood. But what I can do is the second part of that verse and the word of our testimony.
Yeah.
So that's how we overcome it. The blood. Well, the blood's already been done, right? I've asked for forgiveness and he's forgiven me. The blood's been applied. Now what am I going to do? Well, if I want to overcome him, meaning Satan or my addiction, then I gotta talk. I gotta testify.
Yeah,
and so
man, that's good.
For me, man. It's like, dude, I have to tell it. Like I don't. It helps me stay clean. I think I really do. I mean, I told Lindsay, I said, cool thing about me telling my story every night is that you think anybody's ever going to give me a pain pill again? Like that ain't gonna happen, bro.
Joseph's been a car wreck. Well, he can have some Tylenol. That's about it.
Yeah. So I no, it's not painful. There are nights where I go. There are nights when the devil tells me people are tired of hearing about it, and I go, okay, I've been here. Maybe I shouldn't tell it. And then ultimately, I always do. I always tell it because I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a cornerstone of your ministry, and I think, I think it's important for people to hear it, even if they have to hear it over and over and over again. I think it's important for them to know that you still recognize the fact that you'd be nowhere without the Lord and some rehab and some, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's good reminder for you and for all of us that we are nothing without him. And the minute that we forget that and the minute that we stop sharing that, I mean, then what are we doing? We're just standing on stages entertaining people. And golly, that's a lot of work to just travel and entertain people. But, there's something to be said for traveling and ministering to people. And you really do both. You entertain us and you also minister to us.
Well, there's
I love what.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Caleb.
No,
No, I'll remember it. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, speaking about all this too, and something that has always amazed me. You know, I met Carmen. I met Autumn. Well, I met all these guys after the fact, but I met Autumn, and she knows a lot of my story. Like we've talked about it. She's like, "It. I don't look at you any different because you know, the past tries to creep up, and different people meet you, and her." She's like, "How do you know them?" I'm like, well, it was a different time, but she's never, ever been like, well, I just can't believe her. She always says your past is in your past, but I think it's so cool. Not that Lindsay had to go through that with you, Joseph, but that she went through it, man. She stands with you. And you guys released a project a little while back. The songs, I know I'm going to say it wrong. I do it every time. What's the name of that project? It was songs that brought us
Together.
through. Yes.
Just called Together.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Together.
And I mean, it just, you're all kind of
close.
shared the story about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. Like, it was just,
But they are songs that, they are every song on that record are songs that helped us get through that time. And one of the things I was going to say about when you're talking about the entertainment and ministry aspect, I mean, Lindsay says what we do is entertainment and it is ministry. And she said it's like somebody going to buy a Christian book. Well, you got to pay for that book and it's going to entertain you. But the Lord might use that book to minister to you greatly. And the same with a Christian film. And I love what Bill Gaither said. He said, you know what? People always ask me, what we do, is it entertainment or is it ministry? And I say, well, in order for Jesus to keep the attention of 5,000 people on a hillside with no sound system, he must have been a pretty good entertainer.
Yeah.
And that's I mean, when you think about that, it's like they're not going to 5,000 people aren't going to sit and listen to some boring guy.
No, it's true. Man.
Jesus, you know what I'm saying? There's no way.
Jesus was
So
also
I
telling
love
them.
that.
Jesus was telling them things they'd never heard before, and and that's the thing too. Is if you're going to captivate somebody, you're going to captivate an audience with a story. It's got to be something that they can relate to, and I think that's why you have part of. I mean, well, first of all, you are probably one of the best singers I've ever been around, but you also have a way of telling a story and weaving it in throughout your concert, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch. And you get done with your concert, you're singing Here He Comes, or you're closing with something big, and you're like, oh man, is it over already? And then you look at your watch and it's been an hour and a half, 2 hours, and you think, man, that went by so fast. And it's because you're telling the story the entire time. There's nothing ever that's wasted in the concert. You're using every moment in order to share part of that story. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. And it's funny. Yeah, that means a lot to me because there's so much thought that goes into the storytelling. Because I'm a songwriter, and so what we do is we tell stories.
Yeah.
And so I tell stories in songs, but I also tell stories in between songs.
Yeah.
And every song's got a different story. But the interesting thing about stories is every single one of my stories has something to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
And the person of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to make it as much about him than anything else, because that's the reality of it. If I start focusing on, oh, look at me, I don't talk about Grammys. I don't talk about how many Dove Awards I've won. I don't talk about Singing News Fan Awards or number one songs. I don't talk about that stuff.
Yeah, we don't either because we've never had any of that. So.
It can happen. It'll happen. Just hang on. But yeah, it's just I love what I get to do. I'm so grateful I get to do it, and I'm grateful that I get to do it with people like you guys, and I mean that.
Well, brother, we love you. And Caleb, do you have anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up tonight?
No, man. I was just thinking we're gonna luckily Joseph is if he's at home, he's an hour behind, so hopefully we've not cut too much into his relaxation.
Well, let's do one more segment before we go. Let's all tell our favorite Joseph song. I'll go ahead and start, Mine's actually Just When You Thought, and I just absolutely love the lyrics to that song. If you are a music fan and you're watching this podcast, go look up these songs we're getting ready to tell you, because that's my favorite Joseph Habedank song. It's a song he did off of, I think that was on Deeper. Was it on Deeper Ocean?
No,
Just resurrection.
Resurrection.
I love that.
close.
Always defer to Autumn. She'll know.
I love that song. Autumn, what's your favorite
Autumn
Joseph?
knew it.
I did. No, actually, I was gonna say Just When You Thought, but Jacob stole that
Oh,
from
I'm
me. And so
sorry.
actually, I love This Grace. I
Oh,
love that
yeah.
song.
Oh, thank you. I love that song too.
What you got, Caleb?
What you got, Caleb?
The classic, man. The first song I'd ever heard him sing, or I think I might have sang that song during a show or something, was The Beauty of the Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Still one of my absolute favorites, man.
it's a good one. It is. There's not a bad song on
But-
that first record. There's not a bad song on
Now,
that
if I'm
first record.
rocking, like it always catches me because I keep it on a playlist. Another one that I love, it's just the style of it and the way you bring it, is that I Believe in the Resurrection.
I love that one too.
It's such a grooving song, man.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was gonna tell you the stories behind all these songs you were talking about, but now there's so many of them I can't tell you the stories. So,
On the next episode.
yeah, we can do another episode if you want to.
yeah,
Um,
I would love to. Every song has a story, so it's fun.
Well, that's that's a big part of what we do too, and they can testify to this. I would talk between every song.
Every song.
I would talk
I'm
between
clicking
every
next
song, and
track, next track.
and so they kind of have to keep me going, which is a good thing because I know that people will get bored after a while. But you're right, there is a story around every single song, whether you've written it or whether you haven't. Just the story behind it could be what it means to you. And so, we write some of our stuff, but Heaven in Your Heart, you wrote that song. And there's others written by Rodney and Kenna and others that are on our projects. Adina, that your mother-in-law has written some of our stuff too. And so there's stories behind what that song makes you feel too. So maybe in the future we'll do another episode with Joseph talking about stories behind the songs. That'd be fun.
He did do on his. I will tell you this, Joseph. Your hymns project. I love both of them. Autumn was the one that's like, you got to listen to these. And I was like, okay. And I'd never heard Be Thou My Vision. Never heard that song. I was like, what is this? But I love your version of when you did I Need Thee Every Hour.
Oh, my gosh.
And then there was another one that was in that key. You were actually the inspiration. We were doing our hymns project, and we left, and we were like, what are we going to do? We were kind of in pre-production or trying to get ready for it, and like, we were trying to decide a song. We had an acapella plan, but it just wasn't working. We're like, we're losing the lyrics on this. So then we decided, I called, not that it was we just decided together. I was like, why don't we mix Sweet Hour of Prayer and I Need Thee? Or
I
Must Tell Jesus. That's the other song you did. I Need Thee Every Hour, and then I Must Tell Jesus. And I was like, what if we did Sweet Hour of Prayer, I Must Tell Jesus, and put it together? And we were like, yeah, let's do that, because the lyrics were killer. But you were actually the inspiration for that song, because I was listening to your hymns project.
Wow, and you know what's crazy about those two songs is that's actually the Hymns with Friends project, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
man.
think. Yeah, so that's honestly, those two songs on that record are so. I love both of those so much. I think Libby did I Must Tell Jesus, and then Lindsay did Sweet Hour of Prayer. Is that right?
Yeah.
The every hour, I thought.
And then I Need the Every Hour. That's right.
Remember, always defer to me.
What were the two? Yeah. So did you do 3 songs? Did I miss that?
No, we did. He just misspoke. We didn't do I Need the Every
Oh,
Hour.
I'm sorry.
We did Sweet Hour Prayer and I Must Tell Jesus.
Wow.
You should go listen
That's
to
awesome.
it. You should go.
No pressure.
Yeah, you got so much
Yeah,
time.
I need to.
Hey, man, we love you. We're going to go ahead and let you go, but thank you for just being so real and transparent. And, one of these days we're going to be able to get together again and do some stuff together, because I love being with you, and we'll see you at Quartet Convention. It's right around the corner, and it's been so good to talk to you tonight. We love you, buddy.
Man, I love you guys too. Thanks for having me on, and you guys are awesome. Autumn's the best, but you
Yeah,
guys are
what can I
okay too.
say?
Hey, well, just be ready for all 55 views on this video.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'll share it. I'll share it. And we'll get 56 views.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, buddy. Hey, we love you, man. I hope you have a good night. Tell Lindsay and everybody we said hello. All right.
Will do. I love you guys too. Have a great night.
All right,
brother.
you too. Bye bye. What a guy, that Joseph Habedank.
Gosh, man. And that's exactly, if you've never got to talk to him, I promise you walk up to him in a concert, quartet, it doesn't matter. See him on the street, he's always Joseph.
Yep.
I mean, he's
And we'll
just
put up his
super down
we'll
to
put
earth.
up his
What
website.
if I put his picture right here the whole time?
That would be so funny.
I wish I had a stick with like his head on it.
That would be so funny. But we will put up his website information
Somewhere.
and on all that stuff, maybe down here
Somewhere.
or something.
Across here.
We will put up his
Holy Ghost
information.
down. If you've never heard that song, go look up Tell the Devil, because it is
It
jamming.
is jamming. If you've never heard this guy sing, if you've never heard his story, just get on one of the streaming platforms or YouTube or something. And I
I've
know
been
what
Joseph Habedank. I'm kidding. Habedank.
I know it sounds like we've really been like going on and on and on, but he is very, very talented. So if you're interested, you might want to go visit and check out his stuff. And Caleb, speaking of checking out stuff,
Yeah, go on and check out this stuff.
Perfect.
If you're not following our YouTube page, you can do that after watching this video. Also, click the little bell so you get a notification when we throw down a new video.
throw down.
And, throw down.
throw it down.
And if you're not keeping up with us on our Facebook page, you may want to, because we got some new merch coming in, and I'm pretty stoked about it. Of course, I'll probably wear it just so you can see it, and because I think it's awesome. But go in there and check us out on Tuesday nights, 7:30. That's our Tuesday night live Eastern Standard Time on our Facebook page. You can look at our Instagram. All of our music is available on any streaming platform. And
Correct.
thank you guys for watching this video. Comment in. If you've got to listen to some of these songs, let us know what you liked about it. And if you like these interviews, or maybe an artist, you say, hey, I'd kind of like to hear from them. Let us know. We'll see what we can do.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for watching. Good night. We're out like Meemaw's teeth.
Kapoo.
Bye.